I have been approached now by someone who is part of a multinational. Okay. Now, the DNA of the organization would normally spread in branches, if that is a good organization, I'm sure. So multinationals would have probably, as example, policies, and they can have innovative policies which will be applied by all organizations. Am I right? So multinational like yourself and Orange, yes, they can borrow the achievements of their headquarters or their group in general, provided they are under the umbrella of those policies. They implement those policies, example, the structure the same thing, the processes are the same thing, and so on. Yes, the opposite. We just finished assessment about a week ago to some organizations who are multinational, not in the area of innovation, it's in the labor welfare. And this organization in Dubai applies the policies of their mother company, the headquarters, let us say. So yes, multinationals' achievements are, let me say, borrowed by the local representatives, provided they are really implementing whatever policies, applying the same procedures, the same systems, and so forth. Okay? Now, this is one of the most interesting things, the innovation drivers. We have 400 points. We have 5 drivers. The 5 drivers, the first one, and the most valuable, is the innovation masterminds. And we call them masterminds because we want to refer to the brains of the organization. These are normally consist of 3 types, not 3 types, 3 levels, I would say. Level 1 is the leadership. Let me go to each one separate. Innovation masterminds, we're talking here leadership commitment to innovation. And nowadays, we have still, and this is a common thing, we still have people, I call them dinosaurs. Actually, I'm very nice. I call them dinosaurs. Dinosaurs is a little dinosaur that somehow this dinosaur managed to live so many thousands of years and be with us in a form of a manager or a leader, or called leader, but leader normally, the definition of a leader, someone who sets the direction, a better direction, better future, take you from a place to a much better place. So I would call them traditional managers, and here that doesn't fit with an innovative organizations. I'll just take you back to Apple. Nobody can dispute the impact of our friend, Allah yarhamah, what's his name, you know? Huh? Steve Jobs. We need more Jobs, Steve Jobs, in this country. And in everywhere in the world, in actual fact, because the impact of Steve Jobs is impacting every one of us, all right? So we need managers who are committed to innovation. People who do not put sticks in the wheel of the organizations. People, I call them the wave drivers, the wave riders. When we have the tsunami of change, we need people who will ride the wave. Otherwise, the whole organization will be washed by the wave. However, in this particular criteria, we say there is no such thing as the lone ranger or as the lone genius. Genius is good, but without people in the organization that will support this, it will not happen. When we talk about creativity, we say it's an individual skill or competency. But when we talk about innovation, it's a group thing. No one, Steve Jobs had alongside him some of the best brains in the area of design and programming and so on. In actual fact, he was not a good programmer at all. All right. So, same thing with Einstein. Same thing with the bulb guy, Edison. They all have people with them. And they all have labs, by the way, have creative places where they have the creativity. And today I heard a nice word for, normally I know center, lab, zone. Today I heard stadium. This is an interesting thing from our friend in Silicon Oasis. Let's clap for Silicon Oasis. I happened to see some of their achievement in the area of innovation. It was presented at Idea Arabia about a month ago, and one of them came and showed us what they have done in that area, a good area. So when we talk about those people here, we talk about leadership, and we talk about teams. Teams, every organization has teams, but a lot of organizations still failing into the trap of committees. Committees are not the thing we are looking for, because when you come as a committee into a meeting, each person represents his department or his function. But when you are as a team, you represent the project in which you are working or the initiative you're working on. You represent the total organization. And that's why we say cross-functional teams. Again, in the teams, we need different genders, different age groups, and possibly different levels in the organization. Do not just take the activists of the organization and put them in one room. Try to have all those. You never know where the good idea will come from. The other thing which I mentioned to you earlier, please, in the team configuration, don't make it a permanent team, okay? Because you will be really having a mindset. You will be on purpose developing a mindset. Try to change the configuration of the team. But again, don't throw everybody out of the team. Keep 50%, bring 50% new. So you don't dilute the scope of the work and the initiative and so on. But don't keep the team forever. Also, try your best don't give any team more than 2 initiatives to work on at the same time. Don't do that, because they will not be able to handle this plus their day-to-day routine work. Because as you know, teams, when they are formed, they will still have their normal job to do. The other thing which I would like to mention here is the structure. I don't know whether I have a picture of a structure here. No, I don't have. Maybe you can look for me for that structure. It's a very interesting thing to look at the structure of teams. Can you show me the structure of teams, if you don't mind? Find it. It's on my desktop there. Team structure is a little bit different. When we have the leadership team, each one of them in that cycle or circle should be heading one of the programs. And each one on the programs should be heading an initiative. It's a different structure from what we... yeah, put it for me on... No, before that, there is a slide on structure somewhere. The Mr. No and Mrs. No. Yeah, this is an interesting structure. If you want to kill innovation, this will be at the top there. Mr. Idea Killer. Oh, come on, why? This idea is too, we are busy with our whatever. Or Mrs. VIB of no. No. And then VIB of status quo. We're happy as we are. Everybody wants our product. Everybody is supporting us, but not for long. Okay. VB of stay the course. This is another type. And when you look at innovation there, it will be vacant. Some of them will have that. There is a C missing there, the vacant. But it is the wrong structure. The proposed structure, which I see as a good structure, is this one. You have the leadership team there. The red is one of the members. He takes care of the program as an owner, sponsor. And then we have people on different initiatives. Probably there is somebody of a status heading it. Okay? This is a better structure than the hierarchical, what we call pyramid structure, okay? It's a much better way of doing it. If you like this, I will add it to put it online for you to share. And by the way, in addition to the one online, as you see, they brought a camera here, and they will put this also online just to remind people, and people who are not here to be able to see what we're talking about, okay? I have some things on the YouTube, but I never been done. You see, if it's done at home, you relax, you do half an hour, then another half hour. Here, whatever mistake I say, it will still be against me forever. Thank you, cameraman. Okay, so let's, you saw the structure which I think would be suitable for innovation. Again, on those rounds at the bottom, people have to change. The optimum number for a good team is 7. Because there's something, we call it team player styles. And these are 4 different styles. If we only have 4, the likelihood we will be missing one of the needed style on this. And if we have more than 7 and whatever, it will be a difficult thing for them to meet and whatever. So according to research, they say optimum number for a good team is 7 people. Okay, this is just to bear in mind when you're doing these things. Employee engagement. People were talking in the old days about employee satisfaction and stuff like this. And then they figured out something very interesting. They said, okay, I come from home in my car, I park it, go to my office, I am a manager, I read the newspapers, everything. Just before the end of the day, I call the Farrash, we call him, or messenger, go to the car, here are the keys, put the newspaper there, switch on the AC, prepare it for me, and I go home. When you do a satisfaction, he will be satisfied. People who are busy all the time on Facebook and chatting and whatever, they'll also be satisfied. So here we're talking about now employee engagement. Employee engagement is take advantage of every brain we got. To stop thinking of people only as muscles or as a cheap version of the manager. Okay, do this, do that, and whatever. Let people, and it seems everybody born with a lot of creativity, and we stifle, they say, we stifle creativity before we go to grade 1, okay? Okay, because of this, don't do this, don't do that, do this, and whatever. And they say there are 5 levels of thinking. The first level of thinking is when a baby is born, he has what we call intuitive thinking. And we love that type of thinking, intuitive thinking, but organized intuitive thinking. Now the baby, when he is wet, he cries. The mother takes care of him. If hungry, he cries. She feeds him. So he will know with the time, over time, that if he is hungry, he has to cry. And if they giggle, well, play with him, he probably will giggle. He will start. This is a reactive type. And we have still managers at that level, baby age. Now the child become about 4 years old. And now the mother starts putting rules and regulations. Before you go to bed, brush your teeth. When you cross the road, look to the right. Hold the hand of your sister. If you hit your sister once again, I'll break your hands. They start putting rules and regulations for him. And that's the time creativity starts go down, okay? Then he grows up a little bit, and the father brings him a little, and we have managers who are still on that level. What we call it? The legal thinking. We have rules, regulations. You go to finance, well, HR managers are good at that. You go to HR manager, oh no, but rule number so-and-so, and manual so-and-so, and page so-and-so, I cannot, goodbye. We can replace this manager, put it on the intranet, the rules, and let people read. They all can. Okay, now the boy becomes 7 years old. His father get him a little car or a motor, well, a cycle, whatever. And then he starts asking how to move it. And this is the beginning of what we call process thinking, from A to B to C to D. And the programmers are perfect at that. If you put in the coding 1 comma, it could spoil a thing. So the process thinking is higher level of legal thinking. But then they told us, no, you can move from A to J, go back to D, go to the K, and whatever. And that's when the creative thinking starts. Okay? But if we have the intuitive added to that, and I call it the organized intuitive thinking, then it's perfect. It's perfect. However, if you notice, these all, either in the present or connecting different elements of the present to come to creativity, when we talk about strategic thinking, which is one of the elements, one of the most important tools in innovation, is thinking about the future. We take our decision today. Any decision we take today is impacting the future, am I right? So now there is nothing to go by. But we know that the future is a space ahead of us, and we will have to go to it. And the type of thinking here is the strategic thinking, which always starts tomorrow. Always starts tomorrow. To be able to see the changes in the world and make sense of those, and come up with Uber, come up with Facebook, come up with so many interesting innovations. Strategic thinking is one of the tools. The other one is the design thinking, when you have to have empathy with the customers, understand what they need, and live their life, and so forth. Employee engagement is to say to your employees, you all most than welcome to contribute to innovation. Some people do it through suggestion schemes. Some people do it through involving them in design, in prototyping, depends. There is a power in every human being. There is creativity in all what we need is to get it out of them. And that's the role of leadership. And that's why on the teams, nothing wrong in putting junior people on the team. You will be building the pipeline of innovators and creative people in your organization. The next one is the strategy. Strategy is very simple. Either you have it as a single standalone innovation strategy, or as a corporate strategy which reflects, say, innovation project and improvement project, because all strategies really either they talk about, if you look at the strategy map, you talk about capability at the beginning, organization capability, then you talk about processes, policies, or whatever, and then you, based on that, you improve your service. If you have the clever people, smart people, and you have the right processes in place, you can develop good services and products and so forth. But that all comes in the strategy. Strategy starts with future foresight. And please do not miss it, because last time when I was talking to a group, they were thinking the foresight is the same as the forecast. It's not. We can forecast, as example, 10% profit next year, or extra expenditure next year, and put it in our budget. And there is this habit that when we do the budget, we add 10% for inflation and 2% for this and that and so forth. And now we have to add 5% for the VAT. Okay, so that's forecast. But foresight is to be able to take a look at the future and say what is the possibilities there. There could be preferable future. There could be losable future, and there could be a dangerous future ahead which we don't see it. Even the best of the future, which we imagine them, you could have a wild card that will come and spoil all your plans. Okay? So therefore, we need to go to what we call scenario planning. What if? Okay, this is what I think the world will be. I will organize myself on that basis. However, I have to always remember that a wild card could come and spoil everything in my life. This is the traditional way of doing planning. Yes, ma'am.
For the driver, we have to have maximum of 200 words, or for each subcategory?
For each sub-criteria. As example, let me go to here. Strategic foresight, 200 words. Okay. Strategy alignment, 200 words. Business model innovation.
And for each one, 2 to 3 evidences?
2 to 3. Okay. Now, to simplify it for you, if you don't want to go for text, which takes a lot of space, put it in bullet points, as long as it's clear. People, we are an innovation. So we will, as long as you give us the message clear, it's fine. If there's something not absolutely clear, we'll verify it during our site visit. Simple. Okay? But there is sufficient space to fill that, so we'll go through the application in a minute with you. Okay? So this is when we talk about strategy. Normally, we look at the threats in the outside world. We look at the opportunities We look at our strengths and weaknesses within the organization. When I look at weaknesses and strengths, I notice people, they open those 4 boxes and they call it SWOT, and they start just putting things, not in a structured way. You have to look at what does the organization consist of. Let me tell you how you do your SWOT if you want to do it in this way. Put the 10 areas of innovation, 10 types, and SWOT yourself against those. It will tell you whether your problem is in the branding, whether your problem is the processes, or where maybe it tells you the strength and those. And if you have strength, you have to take advantage of those. You have to leverage your strength and take advantage of it. Okay, but when you finish that, say, okay, I have this beautiful objective. How can I translate it into reality? I mean, how can I turn it into what we call initiative? Objectives or goals in general cannot be achieved but through initiatives. The initiatives is when the rubber hits the road. Core competencies. Good organizations take advantage of core competencies, and their innovative programs should really be aligned with their competencies. I mean, you could have somebody who's very happy about making shawarma, and he's one of your senior surgeons in the hospital. And shawarma makes money, no? But it is not within your core as an organization. Okay. 3M probably one of the best organizations when we talk about innovation as a core competence. Then you have to develop strategies of how to go about it, and at the end, vision is achieved. It's very simple. Every innovation plan has 3 elements. Where are we now? And by the way, this is what the assessors will tell you where you are now, where we want to be, and how to move from today into the future. However, in the way going to the future, and notice it's not a straight line. It is not a straight line. The very definition of strategy is a maneuver designed to deceive the enemy and win the war. But we don't have enemies. We have competitors. We have to design a strategy that is a maneuver to make us really move and be better than our competitors. However, there is one element here. A lot of organizations go for what we call benchmarking. We are in 2017, we are here, and the best of class is here. And we benchmark ourselves, and we will say we will be like them. This is called imitation strategy. It is a following. You will be following them, because by the time you reach where they are, they would be way ahead of you. They are also moving. So you're here, ideally, if you want to borrow, is look at their publication. Say, I want to be like so-and-so. And instead of being as where they are now, head to their vision, where they want to reach, and go and race with them to reach to their vision before they reach, if you decide to go into benchmarking. Innovation portfolio, this is where the action happens. This is when we translate our objectives into specific programs. Some people call it projects because there is a beginning and an end, say 18 months. And some of them are programs which repeated every year, and they are funded every year. This is the area of what to innovate. And innovation portfolio strategy alignment. Innovation portfolio should support your strategy, your objective, your goals. Very simple. If they don't support that, you're not translating your objective into real actionable things. Innovation portfolio selection criteria. This is very important. There are, to be honest, what I have seen, at least probably 4 or 5 different tables, and each table has elements to look at. what are the cons, what are the rewards of this initiative. And then there is another list of the risks associated with the initiative. So what we do, I think I have it here. No, I don't have it. I will show it to you in a minute. What we do, I took bits and pieces and developed 12 items you need to look at to evaluate your initiatives, innovation initiatives. And I took 12 items to see how you look at the risks associated with this initiative. At the end, you will end up with a score. One of them called the reward score, the other one, the risk score. And when you put them on a table, you will end up with a matrix showing which are the riskiest or the ones that high reward with less risk. This normally would be your initiative, that you have to prioritize yourself on those. Is there a way I can see it? Because it helps a little bit. Huh? Yeah, okay. Anyway, in general, this is how portfolio is connected with strategy. First, you have the strategy, then the portfolio. Then after that, you go to the processes, how to make that portfolio, how to manage the portfolio, how to make it happen, and so forth. But there is a loop and the feedback and all. Again, we will add this, because some of you probably don't have it. The assessor will not hold you for each item in the, let me say, assessment list. But at least you have to have some sort of assessment of your portfolio. On what ground, the assessor will ask you, how did you select this initiative? Why? You will say, because this goes with our, say, competencies, this support our objectives and our strategy. It, as example, it provides some solution to our customers' pains, or it removes a pain maybe, or it is good for digitization. Nowadays, it's a very important element to say it is good for digitization. But I promise you tonight, this will be added to what I have been saying, because I can tell from probably from some of the questions I heard that you don't have a clear idea of how to evaluate each initiative. 12 elements. Huh? Yes, we can look at it later, but with something else. She's in a hurry to take over from me. Okay, never mind. No, I agree with her. Time management is very important. You see, time goes every second, every minute, every hour. Yeah, part of our life gone. But don't worry, within 30 years, you'll have the elixir of life. Then you will not worry about time management. That's one of the pains will go. Yes. Okay. Now, innovation is a process. You can learn it and you can improve it. And every innovation project starts with ideas. And this is what we call ideation. People collect ideas, and they collect a lot of them. Then they have to go through a screening process. It's like when you do recruitment selection. You put an application, you get 1,000 people, some will be thrown out. And there is an interesting thing here. Other than the application which you throw out, and you send, of course, a regret letter. I mean, it's nice. But some you write on it, defer, keep it, a possible use in the future. The same thing here with ideas. We have something, we put it in a depository. We put it in a parking lot. Maybe the idea is not good now, or it's not the time for it. Maybe in the future you will use it. Then you will go through the evaluation. Then at the end, you will end up, as I mentioned, probably about 8 good ideas worth investing time and effort and money in them. And those are the ones that you will need to go about it. The prioritization is based on the results of evaluation. What we do, if I have, say, 10 programs left or 20, after I evaluate them, and each program has an ID, I put them all in one page, level of risk, level of reward and divide it into the usual matrix for cells and take the ones with the highest reward and minimum of risk. However, if you don't fail now and again, then you're not innovating. Failure is part of the innovation journey. There are stories of hundreds of interesting innovations that even were sent to the market and failed. People did not accept them. I think it's because they did not do the right testing and whatever. Some of them even funny innovations. Okay, but when you go through the proper process, and since we have some people who are already doing innovation, do you have a process to go through? Yeah. From ideation to, from idea collection until it goes to commercial side?
Yes, we do.
The funnel. There is something, if you search it on the internet, called Fugal. Fugal process probably is the best process for innovation. It's a funnel of how the idea gets in and how at the end we end up Fugal, F-U-G-U-L, Fugal. This is the 12 elements which I put from different references. Some of them had 5, some 4, or whatever. The first thing in the rewards here, benefit to customer and community. This is number 1. Then you put the weightage, and then how you rate it. If the weight could be high, but the rating is not. So you time the weightage with the rating, and you will end up with points. At the end, you have the reward score. Revenue potential, competitive advantage, fit with digitization, passion generator, enhances brand and value proposition. Okay, fit with existing product and services, fit with our organizational capabilities, the competencies and the abilities. Addressing key customer pain points, accomplishes an important job for the customer, okay? And then helps us adapt to accelerating change, relevance to a wide universe of consumers, user ability to scale. This is what we call the reward elements. When you go to the risk elements, we came with this to be able to compare egg with egg or chicken with what you call it, apple with apple. We also put 12 elements. So at the end, you will have a score, and against each other, you can tell which are the ones. You removed it? Yeah. This is the risk. Financial risk, number 1. Failure risk. Failure risk is also associated with another one, which is customer not accepting it after you put it to the market. Imagine Colgate, famous for their toothpaste, and they thought, some idiot there, I don't know who, but he said to them, why don't we go into the fast food? And the fast food, the whole concept was, eat our fast food and then brush your teeth with our Colgate. Okay, can you imagine? Have your dinner, our fast food dinner, and then go and buy. So it failed miserably, this, but there are many stories of failure. Anyway. These are the different risks. Distribution risk, market consumer acceptance risk, I mean, would they accept it or reject it? Then you have partners commitment risk, because remember, partners are important. If they're sharing the same process with you, the value chain always involves partners. And let me explain to you what I mean by partners here. It's not the usual partners. Do anyone of you know anything about Catholic marriage? Yeah, a lot of you know about Catholic marriage. In Catholic marriage, what is the interesting thing? They don't have divorce. Poor guys. They don't. Now, when we talk partners, we talk about those people who you cannot tell them, leave us alone, go out. They are part and parcel of your process, whether you like it or not. As example, at the airport, you have police, you have immigration, you have customer. None of them can throw the other out. because the processing of a passenger goes through all of them. These are what we call partnerships or strategic partners, whatever. Now, in innovation, when we talk about partners, we talk about the community as a partner. They can give us ideas. Yes, there's another one, speed to market risk. Because sometimes, and this is absolutely critical, you have to be fast in putting it to the market. Don't go for perfection. Go with a crude thing to start with, maybe. The Japanese are very interesting on those. When they have an idea, say at 2 o'clock at night, he had a dream and he had an idea. So what he does, he goes, he puts his gown and go to the street, and there are machines like the ATM machines, and he goes and registers his ideas because he's worried somebody else may be thinking of the same thing and will register it before him. And patent here is also very important, since we're talking about the Japanese. If you have some ideas, number one, patent it. Number one, go fast to the market, because other people may be thinking of the same thing, and they will bring it faster than you. Microsoft are very good at that. I remember when they did the Windows 95, what's his name, Bill Gates came to his boys, and he said, I know nothing about programming. But if you delay this until after January, the customer would be there. Once he was leaving the court, and on the steps of the court, there are long, many steps, the journalist asked him about Microsoft. He said, between us and failure, there are only 6 months. In other words, any competitor can take us or take our position and become ahead of us within 6 months, because speed in their business is so critical, and that's why their planning cycle is short. Okay, now processes are the same wherever you go. There are 80 points here. We start with the ideas, then we go through idea evaluation and prioritization, and then we go for concept visibility to see it's visible or not. Do we have the capability for it? Do we have the acceptance for it? You saw the things. Then the implementation and commercialization. When we talk about implementation, it's same like any other project management process. This is how it is. Identify innovation opportunities, create the solution context, create solutions, prototype, pilot, and develop. A lot of people dropping the prototype, and this is dangerous. Then they will be shocked when they put it to market and nobody accepts it. Then you have launch and support. So these are the phases. Scanning, idea generation, idea evaluation, concept visibility, and implementation. Look at that. You have so many ideas at the beginning. Some of them go out, and at the end we have. But where the ideas come from, they could be from your customer, your employees, your partners, the society, the market, your database, scans, open sources, business intelligence, competitive intelligence, and so forth. The idea generation consists of different elements, like ideation events, which is some of them could be brainstorming. This is what we know. Most data mining, individual input, initial screen, and review. After every element, there is the review. After every element. Then you go to idea portfolio management, the one that succeeded, you go and carry them as you would do in any project. And the last is to collect the money. Yes?
Yeah, so under innovation process,
yes.
Are you expecting us to describe the processes, or you're expecting us to describe how successful case studies or projects went through?
You did a beautiful thing by saying case study. Let me tell you what I will ask you as an assessor. I will say, how did you come up with this initiative which you just mentioned? You will say, well, we advertised for people to collect ideas, how to improve our process, and people start giving us ideas. Then we formed a team to look at those ideas and select the best of them, to screen them, filter them, in another word. This is how I will ask you. So normally, this is how you do it. If you have a process and you can put it as an evidence, you can have something like this, have your logo on it and whatever, provided you do it, or maybe you change some elements in it here. That's fantastic, fine. In other words, you have to go through a structured process to select the initiative. It's not haphazard because Abdullah said so, or because John will not give us the money if it's not this one, and so forth. There has to be a structure, okay? We'll be talking about this in a minute as well to see something interesting about the funnel itself, okay? But this is how we start. We start with gathering ideas. Sometimes we do it purposefully. As example, we ask for ideas from around the world. We put it on our website. We want people with expertise to tell us something, what is the best now in breast cancer, as example, treatment. Some people will volunteer and will tell you. You can collect, and there's something, they use it called Dolphy technique. The Dolphy technique, not many people use it because it's laborious and expensive. We throw an idea in the market, asking for solutions from experts, not from anyone. Then they will give us their ideas. Then we collect, screen, whatever. Then we summarize them, send it back to the people. Because remember, you may give us idea A, she gave us B, Z, and whatever. Then we send you back all the ideas as summarized. And again, they go through another process of screening and selecting. But this is an expensive way to do it.
So is it important that in generating an innovative idea, is the process important?
Well, to be honest, you cannot have an initiative done because you decided to do it.
Not necessarily.
Okay? It has to come as a result of an idea. It all starts with an idea because the creativity is the beginning of the process itself. But the beginning, before creativity, is the customer. What is their needs?
I agree with you, but the idea need not come because there was an intentional process involved. The idea could have emerged because you just stumbled on it. The idea could have emerged.
Wait. Very good. Let's clap for Dr. Zamil and at the same time, he's wrong. Okay. I'll tell you in a minute. You talk about invention, not innovation.
No. Please, let me complete. Okay. Now.
You said stumble.
No, let me complete.
Okay.
Because I'm talking about.
It's like the apple hits his head and he stumbled.
I'm talking about something that we are actually going to talk about in our organization, right? Now, we came across something that in our organization, because this UAE government invited a group of universities from Finland. They came over, and I'm actually reading this to you. Now, we went to this and we collaborated with universities in Finland, and then we came across this beautiful this idea, and we collaborated with them on this idea, and then we discovered this unique innovative idea, and then we brought this idea to our university, and then we,
From them,
huh?
From them?
Yeah.
So this is exactly what we just said. The source of ideas could be from your partners, but you cannot be stumbling on.
Yeah, and then we got this idea, and then we said, wow. And then we kind of percolated it down. But
when you said, wow, you looked at it and evaluated it.
Yeah, but then it emerged as a process within the institution.
Yes, well, that's the process. I'm not going to build a tunnel and put every idea through it and then, but let me explain to you very simply.
Yeah.
When we stumble on an idea, this is not innovation. It is invention. And many inventions happen by sheer coincidence, labs, or with the Now, innovation is different. Innovation is a process to deal with a pain or a job to be done for a customer. So we have to go through ideation. As example, let me we have currently three types of generation. We have the generation X, the the generation Y and the generation Z. Okay? And there's a generation which is not mentioned in the study, and I'm really sad, which is the baby boomers after the Second World War. And I am one of them, probably the third wave no longer exists. So each of those generations has different values. The value is different. The generation Y is the young generation. They are immersed in technology. Okay, and they socialize, sitting in their bedroom for weeks sometimes. This is the socialism. And they are global by way of approach. While there is another generation who use the internet, just send an email, receive an email. The values are different. The job to be done for them are different. Some people want you to help them reduce the waiting time of a customer. Some people want you to make them make more money. These are things they want. These are their objectives. So what we need to do, always, when you talk innovation, you start by understanding the needs and expectation of the people. Even the one which they did not express. How do you do that? You immerse yourself in their life. How do they live? How do they use this and that? And you come up with a solution to remove the pain in their life. So you have to go through a process. Now, yes, sometimes you borrow. And I mentioned it earlier. Some partner and in their family here. All this could be the source of ideas. But again, you cannot say, fantastic idea, let's go for it. You have to assess it. You have to evaluate it. Because it may be good for the Norwegians, but definitely not good for us here, for our own customer segments. Yes, ma'am. And that's the minute you said, because of our strategic plan, but the strategic objective didn't come haphazard. Also came after SWOT and maybe customer analysis, stakeholder analysis, competitive analysis, and so on. So we ended up with those objectives. But let me tell you one thing. For us to differentiate between innovation and invention. Invention, we have something, and then we look for a market for it to be used. The innovation is the opposite. We look for a market that needs it, then we create a solution to match with the needs of those people. That's the main difference. And in invention could be useful at one stage or another. Now, this is my favorite part, which is how to harness the power of the crowd and to take advantage of the millions of brains around the world. Some of them expertise, some of them in your area, some of them just have passion about public crowdsourcing, creative cooperation, open innovation. They are all really come under partnerships. When you say crowdsourcing, it means to take as much ideas from the crowd and to help you do your innovation. Procter & Gamble, one of the top organizations in the world, they claim that 50% of their products are developed based on the crowdsourcing. And now, there are so many communities of crowdsourcing on the internet. In actual fact, they say there's one or two every single day coming to the internet. Okay, those people will be, they are community of interest, you call it. You can create one. The creative co-creation, when you and your customers, you work together to come up with a solution. PP just recently signed with Stanford University, I think 10 billion over a period of 15 years to develop with them some stuff to do with the oil industry. This was not allowed in America because universities are using public money, I mean taxpayers. So how could they help private sector? But now it is accepted because part of the result of their sourcing for the PP will go for the benefit of the people. The last one is the open innovation. And let me tell you, there is what we call open and closed innovation, and this is probably easier than I explained. The closed innovation, everything happens inside the organization. Our people are great, let us do this, create teams, come with ideas, develop product, and at the end, we push it to the customer. You see, there is no, this is all ideas at the end, the commercialization comes. And people used to be afraid of sharing with the outside world. They will say, we have to keep it secret. But now we come up with a very interesting thing. This is the thing here, what they call open innovation. I take ideas from all over the world. It helped me develop my, innovative initiatives, programs, or products, services, whatever. At the same time, I may have developed something very interesting, but I stopped in the middle of the process. And when we talk about the process, sometimes in the middle of the way, we realize that we have to abandon this initiative. So what do? Throw it? We spend so much money, so many effort. We may look for some people who could use it and we sell it to them. Or give them licenses to use it, okay? And that's where we can generate some money through licensing or right to use. Okay?
What is creative co-creation? I'm sorry,
Co-creation, you sit with your customers and let's assume you are in the fashion industry, okay? And you focus on teenagers. I'll bring people, teenagers maybe, a group of them, create do focus groups, look at what colors going for this age, what go through so many things, and they will help you to create a product that would, when you put it to the market, they will welcome it. That's a co-creation. Okay? So not done to tell anyone. I'm very, very serious about this open innovation, and we're starting it. In actual fact, all our assessors now are training what we call Mastermind professionals, and we're going to have a platform where they will be offering their services and help with a group of people with the same interest. They can do assessment, they can do some training, and so forth. And this doesn't cost only a platform. It's run by a platform. Thank you very much. I'll let you go to through now to talk about, you want to talk the results? You talk about it, I'll give you the mark. The only thing I own here is mark. I don't even own it. No, the results I can go through it quickly, because you go through the application and the scoring. Good for me, the results. We have three types of results. Customer results, and these are the people interested in the results. Now, when we talk customer results, we're talking output. Then business results, we're talking output mainly. And then the community and sustainability. Don't be overwhelmed with the number of measures which we put. Why? We wanted to put the widest possible number of measures for each area. Maybe you cover 2 here, 3 there, or as long as, I would say, as a rule of thumb, if you cover a certain percentage of the numbers, let's say 50, 60%, you are in good shape. Because some of them may not apply. Let's go to customer results. I will go to the details. We have 4 types of customer results: retention, relation, channels, products, and services. And in your customer market, let's go straight away to the measures. These are very simple. These are written for you. You have them in the booklet, but better to see it on the slides when we put it in the internet. Easy to use. Customer satisfaction with the ease of use of your product or services. Performance and reliability. Which is more reliable in your opinion? Say you're using different cars, right? Which one the last car you bought? Okay, the one before that. Okay. Do you think it's a reliable car? What reliability means to you when you talk about the product? Does it break easily? You don't need to send it every day to maintenance. It doesn't let you down. Am I right? So here we talk about these things. Product and service value, product design. Product design, look at Apple. Anyone of you have Apple? Anyone? Apple. What do you think of the design of Apple? It's beautiful, right? So the design is very important for the customer. Their mouse is fantastic. Okay, you see, Apple used a company called Aviation. They're probably the most innovative organization on planet Earth. Okay, they help Apple with the design. They are the fathers of what we call the design thinking. They are the gurus of the design thinking. And I think Harvard opened a school for design thinking. Not Stanford. Stanford, yes. And he was a friend of that university, and they started it only for him. And you can always check ID online. And they talk about the process. They start with empathy. Empathy with the user, the customer. Okay, that's creative after sales service marketing is the thing which you do every day. Here there's no problem. But there are some elements I want you to see. The reputation, corporate image, and brand perception. Brand perception. How many of you would claim that people love their brand? And they will give them the projects or tenders because they give a weightage for their brand. Yeah, you do that? Do that? Brand is, this is what we noticed, that things related to the third category of innovation brings more money. Brand, as example, which is the best brand or the most expensive award? Best brand in the world at the moment. Okay, the most expensive brand. What was it? It used to be in the old days a product, which is Coca-Cola. Okay? Which is the brand now that is really expensive?
In which area? Just like switch.
Now you will probably look at mostly service. The idea I want to show that we're moving from product to other things like Facebook. The Facebook is very, very expensive. If you want to buy Facebook, you need a lot of money, much more money. This is the trend. I'm not saying that this is more expensive than Coca-Cola, but this is the trend. It's going now to the customer journey. Here, customer relations and engagement, number of actively engaged customers, how many customers were involved in developing your services on services, number of new customers via referral, that's because of your brand or services, number of explored customers groups, number of customer focus groups conducted, level of customers involvement in product and service design, number of customers that help test and define new ideas, percentage of initiatives in the portfolio motivated by customer insight, number of ideas and open innovation proposals from customers. These are all related to what we were talking about as drivers. These are measures for some of the drivers which we covered. Here, customer channels and feedback. Number of channels used to deliver service. Now, most of strong organizations use social media as a channel. Okay, you can, a lot of things are done in a digital way, but still we use counters, we use shops and so forth. Number of channels used to interact and engage customers. You can engage customers at ideation stage, you can engage them at design stage, you can at the prototype stage, and at the Yes, participation involvement, yes. They have to be really involved. They have to have their say involved. They're not only listening to their voice, but really listen. As I listen to the doctor, and I will take the gift. And as I said to you earlier, we have something to adjust again. That's been really involved in the design, involved in the design of the criteria later on. Because this is the first year. There was others we made and probably we will. No benchmark. You don't need to benchmark with another organization like in the eighth year. Because remember, a lot of organizations are new. Okay, no need for benchmark. And causality and whatever. Okay. Average response time to customer inquiries, forget it. Then we come here, the products, number of innovative products offering, number of innovative services offering, percentage of new customers users, percentage of new customer users gained from new innovative product services. If you add it to your portfolio, you know how much extra and percentage you have. Market share increase due to new products, percentage of product services sold to new customer segments. This is mainly undestructive innovation. Now, in the business growth, we're looking at the performance result, budget, success portfolio, training. It's very simple here. Increase in business performance, actual versus targeted innovative products, break-even time. How much did you? Our assessors are told this is just a big umbrella. But if one little umbrella can cover you and prevent the rain, prevent you getting wet, then it's okay. Okay, this. This is exactly what I just said. You don't need to cover them all, but you have a menu. It's a buffet. Select the ones that are relevant to you. The ones that are good for your diet system. Okay? Simple. We praise your Amazon Innovation Lab. Clap for Amazon Innovation Lab. Okay. Yes. Okay. You are management. Let me explain to you here something which I didn't talk about when we talk about the labs. Labs need to have management to organize who will use it, when will use it, how much time allocated, and so on, and the coordination and to ensure they have the right technology, the right coding, and so forth. Now, as long as we have that lab and it's being used by those humans, that's what we need to reflect on. Okay, you can say it has been used to develop 5 new services last year, this year too. How many departments use it? How many teams? Well, you get the satisfaction of those people. And but the lab is a good one, but it's expensive lab. Is it in the same quarter as Amazon or outside? Smaller one. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. If some nice lady wrote to you that she and her team will come and look at your lab from those people, not from outside, would you welcome them? You see, you have that. They are meeting their needs, expectations, aspirations. They will be happy. If not, they will not. So this one take the normal survey results and because all your offerings either good or bad or different or potential of new products and services portfolio to meeting those targets, number of new business launched in the new market. Here also we talk about the percentage of failed and abandoned and failed projects. You have to, one of the are introduced already achieved and already in the market, some in the pipeline, some failed and abandoned, just to show that you have made activities in that area. Okay? And all of those elements are indicators of, that you are on it. And we mentioned about failed project and abandoned part of the issue. But in actual fact, and if you look at Apple, until they came on Apple II, they abandoned many things in America. There's a great story about design. This Steve Jobs was very, very much keen on design, because he attended some courses. And apparently one day after they produced the model, the prototype, not prototype, the first prototype, he took it, he looked at it, it's slim and nice, and he threw it in the fish, what is it called? The aquarium. And people got shocked. What are you doing? He said to them, if there is bubbles, I don't want it. And the bubbles came. He said, there must be a space that can be filled. He was very keen on giving slim, easy to use. And look at the mass of this idea guy is talking about when they developed the mass for Apple. He was, even if there's a noise from the mass, because they use a metal ball. He was absolutely crazy. He rejected it until they came up with it. So you want to have the mouse to be able to show on the screen that it's a very interesting thing, right? Anyway, but here probably there's something about finance. Revenue from new customer segments, revenue from new product services, sales profitability, or saving arising from innovation, valuation, capital invested in innovation activities, average investment per innovation project, average return on investment in new ideas implemented, revenue profit generated from new innovative ideas, ratio of innovation expenditure over new product services revenue, and so forth. But one thing, there is the research and development. We notice people do not spend on this research and development, and they don't put it on budget anyway. And research and development has a cost. And if you don't do research and development, I would suggest you help the universities to do the research and development on your behalf. If you're not able to do it yourself, you can shift and give them a subject and they will do it for you. Budget invested in incremental breakthrough innovation, cost savings achieved, and so forth. As you noticed, many things. Here we're talking about the process, percentage of outside versus inside inputs to the innovation process. Total number of ideas generated per year. Percentage of innovative ideas implemented from total submitted ideas. Number of innovation projects in the pipeline. Here are the business continuity and sustainability. Number of ideas or concepts in the pipeline. Percentage of innovation initiatives taken to market. Number of ongoing active innovation projects. Average time of idea to product service. You remember when we said someone will ask me, they started something in the last 8 months. Fine. Some in the pipeline, some already completed. And this is the nature of organizations doing things. Number of innovation type mix, number of innovation projects implemented, number of successful results per time, number of innovation projects executed on time, innovation measures meeting targets. Then we talk about here training hours, people who train on innovation. Again, here training has to be either on innovation or on future skills, which is the innovation tools in general. Okay? Then there's the thing about teams, percentage of staff involved in innovation initiatives, percentage of working time spent on innovation, number of full-time equivalent employees devoted solely to innovation, like yourself. You are full-time, and there's somebody else I met, they are full-time. These are, and they like yourself, they are full-time. Percentage of staff and teams recognized for innovation, number of teams that submitted projects for innovation awards, Number of teams and individual rewards for innovation, average time senior managers invested in innovation. This is about leadership commitment, improvement in collaboration between innovation teams. Then we have here innovation team culture. Again, staff participation in innovation teams and projects, number of departments that innovate on an ongoing basis, percentage of innovation programs and projects sponsored by leaders, satisfaction of participating staff with the innovation program. Here it could be with the lab. Now, this is very simple. Here, not many, because they represent all of one. Community perception of company's image as an innovative organization. Community perception, and then community we gave only 20 points, not 50. Community perception, because they're not there, but they benefit, but they're not there, beneficiaries. Community perception on companies, on innovative products and service value. Community perception on companies' future innovation potential. Community, this is sustainability. Number of ideas turned into patents. How many of you have patents registered? How many of you have copyright registered at the Ministry of Economy? Number of patents issued in the past 3 years, average age of company patent, royalty and licensing income from intellectual property, revenue generated from patented products, allocated budget for future innovation products and services. This is generally, I'm only reading it for you. They are all in the booklet, but again, this will be online for you. And since you're here, did you put in that list your email? We will send you the link to go through all this again. Now let me hand this to Sue. And then so this is not user friendly. Thank you very much for the, by the way.
Other than why, which customer has been explaining for last couple of hours, what and why. So now our focus will be, if we want to apply, how do we do that? And what are the advice that we might receive to see how can we put a good application together? So in the case of the customer results or the results in general, from our past experience, a lot of organizations, when combining the submission document and the evidence, very often they forgot how would the assessor evaluating when they reading your data. If you give them a whole computer-generated data of reports over pages, they have to look for different number and trying to make sense of that. Very often you may losing points because they may not necessarily have enough time, the efforts, and the thing to go through this. How can we make assessors' life easier and understand our achievement when it comes to results? One of the best advice will be generate the relevant charts, then supported by your internal reporting or whatever the format will be. So example in this case, at a glance, the assessor will be able to tell you have set a target for a particular measure and you have actual achievements over the last 2 years compared to the target you set. So one assessor looking to the result part, they want to look into, do you have the relevant measures in place to really measure your innovation, implementation and achievements in the past couple of years? Do you have targets set for those chosen measures? And are you actually measuring your performance against those targets? And overall, are you achieving those targets which you have set before? Or have you been having some kind of improvement in the past couple of years? So by demonstrating those, you will make life easier for the assessors to understand your business results. The other thing, sometimes organizations, when you do the application, they also forget, sometimes you need to put the segmentation. Example, in this sample we put in here, the customer satisfaction on new products and services overall, but there are many different features related to your product and services. What are their satisfaction related to each of those areas when you're doing the surveys, when you're doing the feedback, when you're doing the focus group? So look into those as well. If you can present in more segmented details, it's better for your results. So this is just a sample of the customer result. For the business results, same thing. Put your charts, have your target, have your actuals, record in the last 2 years, sometimes could be 3 years. If you don't have, you only started your initiative, say, innovation last year, put the last year results. And there's always, if you notice, there are some trend lines that you can generate. So at a glance, for your own management, as well as for the assessors, they will have a clear idea, overall we are progressing positively, or we are with a little bit withdrawal in certain area. Then sometimes also, we have the question will come in, certain area we're not doing that well. When we do the result, we can have our remarks indication there to tell the assessor, this is the one example, in this particular example, number of patents issued in the past 3 years. So we have set our target. However, in the first year and second year, we're not really meeting our target. There's a reason, so we can put the remarks or justification there. So due to no corporate budget allocated to R&D or research, so we could not really launching or getting the patents that's supposed to be targeted there. However, since we started in 2015, now in 2017, seems we getting our target. So whatever things that you can put in there will make the assessor understand your figures, your charts, your result better. Do that. So this is just a general advice. Now I will move down to the area of how we do the application as the team. Hold a sec. Okay, now I think by now you're all familiar with this framework. So when we do the application, one thing we always keep in our subconscious is this framework and all the criteria and sub-criteria related to this. So the conditions for participating is every organization can participate in the award. There are some preconditions. Number one, we have to hold a valid business license from the UAE. So this is some of the basic requirements. Then also we must have some kind of employee working in UAE. We don't want to say that, you know, the entire thing we're presenting here is all from our Europe branch, has nothing to do with us here. So then it's really not something we're looking for. You can have your mother companies in other parts of the world. However, we want to ensure those innovations really benefits the customers, the community within this region. Now, also participating companies who already won the 5-star, as Catherine mentioned, that they will not enroll again immediately next cycle because we don't want everybody on the stage, the same people every year. And we also give them the time to improve on their area. To qualify to participation, that's the company should meet all award submission requirements and deadlines. This is very important because we were saying that February next year, during the innovation month, that's the annual or the award ceremony. So if your submission comes in very late, then you may not have enough time that giving to the assessors team to do the proper assessment, the site visits, and the reporting. Yes?
With regards to the deadline, because your submission is on the 4th of January.
That's right.
So, for example, some of our surveys are happening in December, and of course we need to validate them. If in case we want to add more results, or maybe just update some of the results to add 2017, are we allowed even after the 14th of January?
So this, okay, good question. Yeah, very good question. So when you combine your submission document at that time, you have based on what you have came out. Then between that time to the site visit, if the new data come out, sometimes organization survey through the third party or whatever independent survey company, trying to get the latest data in because the assessor will only be able to evaluate based on what you submitted or during the site visit, what you're showing them. But you cannot tell them we are still going on and nothing there to show them. So trying to, during the initial submission, if you can finalize, that's perfect. If there's any gap, trying to do that before the submission, before the site visit. During the site visit, you can give them the latest or updated document where they can verify. Okay? So, yeah, the award submission document, of course, should meet all the criteria supported by documented evidence and reflect the real business practice. Because sometimes in different awards, we will see some people really brilliant at writing the submission document. When you look at it, wow, what a wonderful, organization and so much achievement. But when we go to the site visit, we realize these are a lot of beautiful things. They turn from the actual framework into, yes, we do all of this, but we want to see in real practice, are you really practice this? And the people from the management team or the people or the innovation team probably will be there. We will also listen to their feedback as assessors. Yeah? So how do we start the application process? I believe all of you already registered online for your intention to participate. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be here today, right? Now, after today's session, now you have a better idea of the requirements, the criteria. I'm sure you will go back to the team and discuss how we're going to participate in this year's award. Some of you may say, okay, we probably feel we're not ready, we might delay for next year, so you have to decide on are you going to participate for this year's cycle. Once you've done that, the actual award application, the submission document, which you will be starting from now to prepare until the submission deadline on the 14th of January, there will be a template, which I'm going through later on today. The template will be sent to you, where you can fill in all your application and supported by the documented evidence. The submission documents will be accepted in English, please. So do not put in Arabic application. Let's have the submission document in English, because our combination of assessors, mostly English-speaking assessors. You will have bilingual, but still English you want to use as the official language. Then all criteria of the sub-criteria to be addressed, trying to limit to 200 words. Why do we have that? When you have so many sub-criteria with 200 words combined together is a huge document. And due to the limited time and ability for assessors, they cannot go through 20,000 pages of documents trying to figure out what you have achieved. So we want really the summary highlights your achievement in each area related to the awards criteria and sub-criteria, and how you really having your system in place, the proper practice in place in that area. Then each sub-criteria element should support it with a 2 to 3 evidence. Sometimes we have seen in different awards, people really putting 50,000 pages of document and say assessor trying to guess wherever the evidence you might find there. So this will make life quite difficult. That highlights the direct evidence that's supporting that particular sub-criteria. So other than your application document and documented evidence submitting, what are the other things we will need as a word office? You will need your trade license, your logo, etc. These are the things that you will be submitting together with the overall document. Now, how do we submit this to the award office? You can submit this in a soft copy, either by CD or by flash, to the award office before the deadline. Initially, we had this online application system, but because we're still fine-tuning and due to the time short, we don't want anyone who said, I have difficulty logging, I lost my password and all this. So let's submit all the documents in a flash or in a CD to the award office, which is contact details will be the last page as well. Okay, that's just to tell you how would the assessment will be done, which Kasim already mentioned earlier. So the assessors team, once they receive your application and all the documents, they will start an individual desktop assessment. So each assessors will do their own desktop assessment based on the documents and information provided. Then the team will meet together, do their consensus, and have initial scoring based on purely on your documentation. Based on that, the team will start to raise a list of questions or the documents, things that they would like to see, the people they like to meet during the site visit. Then they will plan the site visit, which will communicate it back to the organization representative. These are the dates we suggest for our site visit, and these are the people we suggest for you to have on that team for us to meet, and these are the documents we might need to re-verify or come back to you on to see this area. Then on the day of agreed site visit date, they will conduct the site visit. Usually will be in your head office or whatever the office you provide. Preferably there will be a meeting room. Maybe sometimes the company, they want to do a small presentation about their overall background of the organization and some kind of highlights of their innovation, achievements, things like that. So at least have a presentation or some kind of, projection facility, meeting room available. Then after the site visit is conducted, the team will meet again to do their consensus and the final team scoring for your application based on both desktop plus the site visit findings. Then they will prepare the feedback reports and the final scoring. So this is the actual assessment process from the assessors activity part. The overall award process, this is really starting from the receiving of your application, which is on the 14th of January, and it goes to the assessment process. Then the Secretary General of the award will receive the final report and scores, and based on that, on the scores that you achieved, you will be categorized into the star awards. Remember, different range of scores that give us up to the 5-star. Then finally, we'll come into the judging committee as well as the official award ceremony will be the last week of February. So there is something, I think this one probably a lot of you will find very useful. Now we finish our session today later on. What do I do? Yes, please. Yes. I will show you in the next slide. Exactly that's what you're going to ask, if you don't mind. Yeah. So how do we prepare when we go back to our office next Sunday? The advice will be, first, obtain your leadership commitment. Because Innovation Award, you want their blessing. At the same time, you need management support because you will be gathering different information across the whole organization in this sense. Then you probably will be form a cross-functional award submission team that will help you getting the right information in, getting the right data in, and putting the submission document together. Then, of course, togetherly, or maybe because you are the one that has attended this session, not everybody fully aware in your team for the submission about all what we discussed today. You might want them to be really familiarize themselves with the framework, criteria, requirements, etc. So everybody will fully understand what needs to be in the submission. Then you will collect data and document the evidence across the organization, across the company. So sometimes from our past experience with other organizations, what they do, they will start to have those sub-criteria as boxes or as your shared folder, whatever you call it, or easier for you. Then they start to collect information relevant to there. May not be that refined yet, at least all the things that might be relevant for that particular sub-criteria. Then from there, they start developing their submission document. So organize data and evidence as per the criteria and sub-criteria. Then you can draft your submission document. This is usually done by the team who really knows what's going on in the organization in the area of innovation. Then in each sub-criteria, please make very clear reference to your supporting documents, because if you're not really referenced clearly, then people could miss out which part really supporting on your claim in this area. Then after all this organized, you might want to review and refine your final submission document before you're submitting it. Now, once your submission is done officially, then you can start to prepare for your site visit and make sure the people who is going to be presented on the site visit fully aware of what's going on. So when they're being asked, they will not be confused what to answer the assessors team. Now, in the response to this lady's question, what kind of evidence that I might need to have for my submission? You can have various evidence types. Example could be documents. Maybe you want to show your innovation strategy. Once it comes to strategy, you want to say, this is the strategy we do. And it could be in a strategy map format. It could be a strategy document. So it's each organization, what do you have? It could be your budget. Remember, we talked about funding. So this could be the budget we allocated to innovation. Could be plans, policy, framework, toolkit, handbook, guidelines, anything that in the documents that really can support. The other things also could be the process, the procedure, the flow charts. Maybe we have a whole process of how to generate ideas. Maybe we have a process of how to do the prototyping. So these are the things, if you can put in diagrams and the charts and those, it will be easier for the assessors to view. Then you could have forms, templates, memos, meeting minutes. This, what the team has different meetings. The leadership team has been meeting together, drafting the innovation strategy example. The tables, graphs, and charts, this is mostly related to the result part. Could be the survey questionnaires, the analysis of those feedback surveys. Could be the reports for those feedback surveys. This could be the evidence as well. Then the records. Sometimes you have, these are the awards we received, these are the patents we received, the innovation training attendance, the suggestions received from our stakeholders, could be externally, could be internally. And then, of course, it could be pictures as well. When we talk about recognition and reward, creating the culture, these are the pictures that we have been rewarding our people. Could be also the prototype concepts or the product launching events. So these are a combination of different type of evidence that you might have. Very much depends on what is the best one which you can use for your supporting your application. So this is all your choice. So far, so good? Everything okay? Yeah? Okay, so the application template itself is divided into each criteria and sub-criteria. In this case example, in the innovation capability, the first criteria is innovation budget. Underneath, we are looking at the 1.11, which is only the funding. This one only taking 20 points. So some of the team we were discussing during the break, I may not have every single sub-criteria available. It's okay. If you don't have it, leave it. Mentioning we do not have it. You're only losing certain points because you will have other sub-criteria to be covered. In here, we see the 200 words, if you notice, really relate to that sub-criteria. So here you can explain, we're saying not more than 200 words, describe your company's innovation, budget, approaches, systems, practice, in relation to the following. So really, we putting the criteria and explanation in here to guide your team when you prepare your submission document. Then if you look down here, the documented evidence, here you can put the reference number and the attachment. So this way, when the assessor look back, most organizations probably will do reference number, there will be criteria 1.11, this is the reference for the documented evidence, so it's very easy to link back to. Some organizations, what they do all the documented evidence into one document per sub-criteria. Then inside they have different sections dividing. So each organization depends on what really works for you. As long as it's very easy, clear for the assessor to track, that is more than okay. Yeah? So the same thing, if you notice, will go to different criteria, and this is how you're going to fill your application overall with all the supported document and evidence. Is there any question in this sense? Yeah? So I will not go in details. This all will be shared anyway. So this is more or less just to tell you how you're going to fill each of the sub-elements. Now, once come to, I think I will go over directly to the last point, or last section, which can also help you. I want to just show you from the other side of the window, which means the assessors, how they assess you. So if you know how they assess you, it will be easier for you to do your application as well. Sorry. Okay. This is, okay. This is the assessors scoring. This is how will they score your application. So the assessor scoring, they'll reference again back to the framework and the criteria. Then they are guided on those scoring criteria. For enablers, they will look at are you mostly applying in those objective evidence in the sub-criteria you are mentioning, or you are mostly occasionally applying or never really do this thing? So based on that, they will give you relevant scores. Just in a minute, I will show you how the score will be. Yeah? Then in the result part, which is the criteria 3, they will look at 2 parts. They will look at the scope and applicability of the measures you chosen. So the measures we see should be relevant to your business and relevant to your innovation practice in the organization. The integration of that, are these accurate, reliable measured, or we just made a survey last minute and they give customer all smiley faces and they just take and our satisfaction is brilliant. So we will also look into that. Are these proper measured? Are this information or the data really accurate and reliable? The segmentation, are you giving relevant segmentation? Remember we had the example, say on the products and services, these are the different features, customer feedback given to you. The trends, are your performance in the last 2 years doing better? Are you going down? And you can always put your remarks. Then the target, do you have any preset targets? A lot of organizations, sometimes they don't have any target. They're just measuring it as part of their general measurement system. So this is something also keep in mind. Then again, when we measure here, also the type of measure will be always able to show. If you're always showing in all your measures, you get higher score. If some measures you're showing target, some may not, then you may get a little bit reduced score. So it depends on the thing. Let's just go over here. When we're talking about your scoring, we talk about each sub-criteria, that each of the subs are measured this way. Remember we said never applied, really applied, occasionally applied. This is how they're going to measure you as assessors. Let me just go straight away to here. This is a sheet that assessors will use for measure you. Example, when it comes to internal funding, they will say, okay, this organization has dedicated budgets for innovation and they always funding that way, so the implementation level is always. Then from the always, they will have a range from 80, I think, until 100 points. Based on that, they will decide on as a team, what was your performance related to internal budget. In the case here, this example about the innovation training and the capability development, here, if it's always, or mostly, or occasionally, or really, so the assessors team will first decide on implementation level, then they will decide on the actual score, which is 5% incremental score that your organization achieved in the area of that particular sub-criteria. Is that straightforward? Is clear? Yeah? So then based on that, based on the total attainable score and your actual achieved score, in each sub-criteria you will get a scoring. Then of course at the end you will have a total score out of 1,000 points. That's your actual score for the organization. And this is the score that later on converted to the star levels overall. And if you look at this example, we're talking about the result part. In the result, slightly different than the enabler part. Here we talk about, do you have a relevant set of key measures identified to demonstrate the innovation performance of the company? So you do not necessarily have all the measures we suggested there. If you don't have patents, you don't have patents. So, but the assessor will say, you have a relevant set. Don't give us 1 or 2 measures and say that's all we got. Now, of course, you will reduce. So they will look into, is this organization have the relevant set of measures, maybe about 70, 80% covered necessary, measurement of their innovation practice. So this is what they were looking to. Yes. Sure.
In terms of how we would need the KPIs to be listed in the guideline. So
Okay.
you're saying it's only a guideline.
Yeah.
So if, for example, honestly, some of the KPIs here are new to us.
That's true. Totally true.
Can we offer some of the KPIs that we already are measuring?
Yeah. Alternative. Absolutely. Because here, if you look at those measures, it's under one sub-criteria, right? Example, what they're looking into, maybe the sustainability of your innovation efforts. So here you want to demonstrate we're not only looking at the innovative product and services today, we also have pipelines for the future. We also invest for the future R&D or research. So as long as you demonstrate in the relevant measures, the assessors team will look into. You do not copy, paste exactly what we have there. These are just suggested type of measures that different industry, different organization may use, but your specific industry may need a specific measure. So do show that, yeah. Definitely, definitely. We always cross-reference as well, but trying not all spaghetti out, then they may, yeah. So exactly, because some area you might repeat in different places, because a certain area is because of continuous practice, and you will mention maybe in your idea generation involvement. On the other side, you may also mention in the process itself. So definitely the team will cross-reference into those, yeah. So, okay, I'm nearly done, just bear with me. Yeah, now the last part is the assessment report. What will you get by after all these assessments finish, after you've gone to the beautiful ceremony and everybody celebrated? What really at the end, I think the most important thing that's for the whole process will be the feedback report. In the feedback report, you will have your company name there, the number of stars achieved based on your final score, and then inside there you will notice they will also give you the breakdown of each sub-criteria and the key elements in that, and what's your score in each of this area. Then inside the detailed ones, for example, criteria 3, how much you actually achieved, then what will be your strengths and area of improvement in each segment of that main criteria. So these are the areas that you may look into, see how can we strengthen our strengths, how can we bridge the gaps. The gaps could be something we're not doing yet because, you know, this is something new to us, but we might consider for the next cycle, maybe next 3 years, maybe next 5 years. So we believe this could be really useful for the organization overall. So that's pretty much. Is there any questions that I can answer? Yeah. Are you kind of comfortable, more or less knows what to do next Sunday? Yeah? Okay, great. Famina will be the one, if you notice here, I think she has been communicating with all of your team already. So Famina will be the one communicate with you. From our side, we'll have the presentation online that you can access and your team can also get involved. Then also she will prepare the submission document to be distributed that you can all use immediately. Thank you very, very much for coming today. Thank you, thank you.